Hello everybody, it's Chris. Welcome back to the channel. You know, when I sold my car many months ago and decided to have the Can-Am Spyder be my only conveyance, I knew that there would be days when it would be unpleasant to get out and ride. And I don't mean to go for a pleasure ride, because that's not what I'm doing today, but to have to get out and go on the motorcycle to get somewhere. I knew there would be days when it would be unpleasant, and today's one of those days. So it is late November 2024, and the Spyder says it's 46. The weather forecast right now is about, I think it's like 39 to 40 degrees, and my guess is that's what it is. The Spyder, as you know, the thermometer is notoriously high always, but it's not just cold, about 40 degrees, but it's also rainy. It's not pouring rain, but it's coming down. But I've got a meeting, so I've got to go for a ride, and I figured I'd take you along with me. On that note, I want to say we just crossed, again, it's late November, bought the Spyder on March 13th. That's when the channel really kicked in, and we just crossed 2,000 subscribers, which is just shocking to me. I've mentioned this many times, but I never thought we'd hit 1,000 subscribers, and I never really worried about that. I was doing this to kind of chronicle my journey as as a minimalist with the Spyder as my only conveyance, and I figured some people would want to come along for the ride, but I never imagined it would hit 1,000 subscribers. And 1,000's kind of a magic number with YouTube, because when you hit 1,000, your channel becomes part of what they call a YouTube partner program, and what that means is you make a percentage of the advertising revenue that YouTube sells on your channel. Now, it's a minuscule number, but it is a number. You get paid for, get paid something for your efforts. But that's not what I wanted to talk about today, although I do want to thank those of you who subscribe, and again point out that I think right now my channel says that YouTube provides a bunch of data, and they say that I think 68% of the watch hours on my channel are from non-subscribers. So those of you sitting on the fence, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button. But what I want to talk to you about is Florida, and isn't this a perfectly appropriate day weather-wise to talk about Florida? I've mentioned my upcoming Florida trip on a few segments of a few of my earlier videos, and I've had people ask me, when and where and what's it all about. So I figured I'd give you a little taste of what's coming up, because it's going to be epic, and it's going to also give me epic video, multiple great videos. So every year I take a trip to Hollywood Beach, Florida, and I've been doing this for years now. And Hollywood Beach is, I'm gonna beat this. Hollywood Beach is between Fort Lauderdale and Miami on Florida's southeast coast, and it's a neat little town. They've got a neat broad walk. I'm a walker. I like to walk, and it's just a neat place to visit. In fact, I think what I'm going to do is again, I know this is a Spyder channel, but I think what I'm going to do is insert here kind of a very short snippet of some video from prior trips, maybe the last trip or the last couple of trips. I'll kind of go in and put something together and kind of insert it here. You can get a taste of Hollywood Beach. So what I normally do is I fly down, I have a condo that I've been renting. I found it on VRBO or Verbo, whatever they call it. It's kind of like an Airbnb type website. In fact, it might even be owned by Airbnb, I'm not sure. But anyway, I found this condo years ago. It's in just a great location, and I manage my trips, which are normally short, like 7, 8, 9, 10 days, when that condo is available. And I like to plan my trips for late February and early March, when it's still cold and snowy up here in Western New York. And where I stay, I don't really need a car, so I don't rent a car. I Uber from the airport, Fort Lauderdale Hollywood International Airport, to the condo. And when I need to run to Publix, the supermarket chain in Florida, or if I want to run into town for something, I take an Uber. But I don't do a lot of that, so I don't really need transportation when I'm down there. And then I fly back. But I'm having so much fun touring with the Spyder, and this machine is just made for touring, that I'm thinking, and have been thinking really since I got this, I've got to take the Spyder for my trip next year, 2025. The problem with going in late February or early March next year on the Spyder is that we could have weather that would just make the trip undoable, because I am not going to take the Spyder in a snowstorm, right? I'm not going to take the Spyder, you know, if it's 20 or even 30 degrees. I'm just not going to, I can't do that. But what I did to increase the likelihood that the weather would be somewhat better than that is I pushed my trip back to late March. So I've got a trip booked. I've got my condo that I stay at booked for late March through the first day in April, and then I booked a place in Key West, Florida, which is a few hours south of Hollywood Beach, and I'd never been to Key West, so I'm really looking forward to that. More than Key West, I'm looking forward to riding over the, what is it, 100-mile overseas highway to get from the southern tip of the peninsula to Key West. I'm really looking forward to riding the Spyder on that highway. That will provide some epic video. Now, the route to get down there is all interstates. It's going to be pretty simple. If I were taking a car, it'd be like a 2-day trip. I'd pick one overnight spot somewhere, maybe, you know, Charlotte, North Carolina, I don't know, but I'd do it in 2 days. But because I'm going to be doing it on the Spyder, which is slightly more fatiguing than driving in a car, obviously, I want to take 3 days, especially because my first day on the Spyder is probably going to be, well, I could be riding in like high 30s, 40-degree weather. It could be a day like today when I'm riding, and I'm not going to want to push it, you know, doing a 10, 11, 12-hour drive with that kind of weather on the Spyder. I think what I'm going to do is I figured out how to do some very raw, superficial mapping, and I think I'll insert now. I'll show you the route that I'm going to take, and you can see exactly where I'll be, you know, going on my journey. Okay, this is the continental United States, obviously, and that blue dot represents my house. Actually, the blue dot is my iPad, and Hollywood Beach is in southeast Florida. I'll kind of zoom in between Fort Lauderdale and Miami, right there. So the route is pretty straightforward. It's interstate highway the whole way. So you can see the route to Key West. This portion right here is on the overseas highway, and that should be absolutely awesome. So I'm really looking forward, not just to my first time in Key West, but the journey to Key West and the journey back. Now, on the note of the journey back, I want to take the Spyder through the Florida Everglades, and I also want to take the Spyder up the west coast of Florida. So what I'm going to do is, this is the journey from Key West to Naples, Florida, and then from there I'll head up the west coast of Florida, spend some time in a couple of different towns on the way up, and then I'll head from the Tampa Bay area back home to Niagara Falls. And you can see the route from the west coast of Florida back to Niagara Falls is very similar to the route back. In fact, it's identical from Jacksonville points north. The only difference is I'll be heading through different parts of Florida. So this is an Amazon distribution facility that's opening up in the town of Niagara. just east of, I guess it's northeast of Niagara Falls. It's going to be a great employer, great addition to our economic development efforts. But anyway, back to the Florida trip. So you saw the route. The only question is, and it relates to weather, is how long do I take to get down there and how long do I take to get back? So I want at least 3 days because I'm riding the Spyder down. I want at least 3 days to get down there. But let's say I'm watching the weather, and I'll start watching the weather a couple of weeks in advance, and it looks like I've got a patch of just beautiful weather, and in, let's say it's mid-March, and I've got like high 50s forecasted for the whole route from, you know, let's say Niagara Falls, Buffalo, Pittsburgh, Beckley, West Virginia, and it looks like it's going to be beautiful weather. I might go a week in advance. I might go 8 or 9 days in advance and take a long time to get down there, but I make some cool stops along the way. Maybe I'll stop in Savannah, Georgia, or St. Augustine, Florida, or Daytona Beach, or any number of places to prolong the trip, because my nights in Hollywood Beach are fixed. That's set. It's just a matter of how long I take to get down there. The complication regarding weather relates to road salt. So what I don't want to do is have a situation where they have a snowstorm in Pittsburgh or Buffalo or, you know, West Virginia. They salt the heck out of the roads. The weather improves and it's beautiful, but there's been no rain since that snowstorm and since that heavy salting of the roads. If I make the trip then, not only my Spyder would be, not only would it be covered in road salt that gets kicked up from the cars and the trucks and whatnot in front of you, but I would be covered with the road salt and I would be breathing it in, and I don't want to do that. So what I really need to root for, to hope for, is heavy rains after the last snowstorm before my trip to Florida, if that makes sense. I don't know if I'm explaining that right, but that's what I need to at least reduce and mitigate the road salt issue. So in early to mid-March, I'm going to start kind of watching the weather, and again, the weather will determine, am I going to take 3 days or 4 days or 6 days or 8 days or whatever to get down there. And the same thing when I'm coming back. So when I'm in Key West, I'm going to be watching the weather in Buffalo and Pittsburgh and Beckley, West Virginia, because I might have to rush back. And when I say rush back, again, 3 days minimum, but I might have to hightail it back to beat a storm, or I might want to slow things down and inch my way up from Key West so that I, you know, slow down things and let a storm pass. Now on that front, I had never been to the west coast of Florida. So what I'm going to do is when I leave Key West, and I'm still unsure if I'm going to stay in Key West for 1 night or 2, because I've never been, there's probably a lot of things I'm going to want to check out, and I might want to stay an extra night. But when I leave Key West, I'm going to go up the west coast of Florida, and that means I'm going to ride on the Spyder through the Florida Everglades, which should be totally awesome. Just totally awesome. And then I'll make stops up the west coast of Florida, places like Naples and Fort Myers and Tampa, and going over that cool bridge that takes you over the Tampa Bay, whatever they call it there. So anyway, as we get closer, I'll fill you in on my journey, but the best part of my Florida trip is that if I bring the Spyder, I'm taking you along with me, and I just can't wait. So if you like this video, please hit that like button. Again, if you're not a subscriber, please hit the subscribe button. If you have any comments, please comment. And until the next video, you have a great day. Bye-bye.